Marcia.
Remarkable.
And now the latest in our Target 8 investigation, Confessions of a Killer. James Winkles is a master of manipulation who's gotten away with murder for nearly 2 decades. The 57-year-old says he's killed 26 women in Florida. He made the confession to us during hours of exclusive interviews. Winkles is currently serving a life sentence at the Polk Correctional Institution for kidnapping and robbery. Target 8's Marcia Crawley has been investigating this story for months with News Channel 8 producer Steve DiGregorio. Marcia?
Well, Gail, detectives think Winkles is lying about some of his claims, but they do believe he killed at least 2 young women from Pinellas nearly 2 decades ago. He's talked to us extensively about these crimes on the phone, and we also spent more than 6 hours talking face-to-face with Winkles in prison. How did his reign of terror finally come to an end? Tonight, Confessions of a Killer. James Winkles claims he got away with murder and rape for 15 years.
I started basically hunting in 1967 and continued on up until I was captured in 1982.
He used knives and guns to threaten his victims, but Winkles' most powerful weapons were his disarming lies, lack of conscience, and twisted, plotting mind.
I was always hunting. Hunting meaning looking for attractive victims, vulnerable victims, people whom I could approach with a non-threatening persona and have get in the car with me of their own free will, or be put in a position to where if I wanted them bad enough, I could, in fact, overpower them and subdue them. It was a constant thing.
He developed an MO that included a host of aliases.
William L. Ritter, or Jimmy D. Hawk, or Neil A. Barrow,
and he carefully conducted schemes to gain control of women.
It's like playing a musical instrument. If you play it right, it will do just virtually anything for you.
Detectives are now convinced at least 2 Pinellas County women never escaped Winkles' trap. 19-year-old Elizabeth Graham and 39-year-old Margot Delamon. Winkles abducted and murdered Graham in 1980 after posing as a dog owner who needed his pet groomed. In 1981, Winkles killed Delamon after convincing the Pinellas Park realtor he was in the market for a log cabin.
I used her need to sell a house to entice her to get in a truck with me.
It worked for Winkles again in 1982 when he abducted and robbed 28-year-old Donna Maltby, a Seminole County realtor. Another time, Winkles posed as a contractor who needed parts delivered to a construction site in Orange County. Winkles coaxed the 18-year-old delivery driver into his Bronco. She quickly realized there was no way out.
When I tried to get out later, the handle on the passenger side of the car was missing. There wasn't a handle there.
Winkles threatened her with a machete and forced her to take sleeping pills.
All I remember is being totally terrified. I've never been that scared in my life, and I just thought, this is how it happens. It was just, this is how it happens to people. You never think about it happening to you. And I'm thinking, here I am, it's happening.
He drove the woman to a Pinellas County motel and raped her. It was November 25th, 1981. The day before Thanksgiving.
I could only see images of my mother and my grandmother and my little brother. He was 12. And I thought I'd never see him again in my life. I never thought I would lay eyes on my grandmother and my family again.
She still has no idea why Winkles let her live.
I just think, you know, it was God. God saved my life that night. It just wasn't my time, because I just knew without a doubt I'd never see light of day. I'd never see them again.
I could see the old lady, you know, getting the news that her granddaughter's missing and she's not going to be there for Thanksgiving, and them finding her dead. And so I just decided to let her go.
She was lucky because Winkles says he has no conscience and never felt guilt or remorse for his victims.
They weren't human, they were just objects. Inanimate objects, like that chair, like that table. They really meant nothing to me.
The realtor from Seminole County was about to become James Winkle's next victim. Winkles arranged to meet Donna Maltby at this Days Inn. When Maltby got into the stolen Pontiac Granville, she discovered the door handle was gone.
Something I did with virtually all my vehicles. I had it fixed where I could just pull the handle off. There was not a screw holding on it.
With his car running on empty, Winkles drove Donna Maltby toward Orlando, stopping at a gas station. Winkles had no idea Maltby was also plotting.
So she talked me into untying her hands so they wouldn't go to sleep, wouldn't lose circulation in them. And she also talked me into putting a knife in a trunk. You know, I thought she was under my control now.
He never counted on a dead battery, Maltby's will to live, or on Deputy Clinton Bivings.
Her eye must have caught what you were doing.
Well, she saw me over there on the traffic stop when they were doing whatever they were doing here.
Winkles stepped away from the car. That's when Maltby slid across the seat, bolted out the driver's door, and made a beeline to Bivings.
She looked terrified. She was running across the street at a full sprint, and she was terrified, screaming at the top of her lungs that she had been kidnapped.
After making sure Maltby was safe, Deputy Bivings took after Winkles.
I'm trying to figure a way out. I'm not thinking, oh my God, I'm caught or anything like that. You know, I'm just trying to put together some way to get out of there and, you know, recover, resume.
Deputies found Winkles hiding inside a stove in a scrap metal yard. Within minutes, James Delano Winkles' 15 years of hunting young women was over.
I made the mistake of underestimating her. And I had to suffer the consequences for it.
Now, after all these years, Donna Maltby is still too emotional to discuss her experience without breaking down. The other victim in our story hopes her interview will persuade other women to come forward. Winkles says he's raped hundreds of women in Florida. He says most never reported the crime. Two of his rape victims, however, told a judge their story, which resulted in his stiff life sentence for the kidnapping of Donna Maltby. Tonight, Winkles remains in solitary confinement at the Polk Correctional Institution. Detectives plan to re-interview him based on information he's given us. And today, the state attorney in Pinellas County subpoenaed all of our videotapes of his interview with us.
So where does the case against him now stand? Everything going on?
Well, detectives have turned all of their investigation and their information over to the state attorney's office. State attorney's office says they will seek indictments against Winkles in January for the two murders of Elizabeth Graham and Margot Delamont.
I can't imagine you sitting there for 6 hours and listening to him talk about all of these things.
I guess the best word to describe it is as creepy. He was just a
can't.
creepy person.
All right. Thank you, Marcia.
Residents of a clear